to show you how to make my easy peasy tomato soup. I got a nice little deep saucepan here running on medium heat right now. First thing we're going to do is that we're going to add 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter and just get that melting. So just going to stir that around a bit and get it nice and melting. Once we melt this down, we're going to add our next ingredient. Nice thing about this tomato soup is that it's very flavorful because there's a layering process involved, which I'm going to walk you through today. So let's just keep melting that down a little bit. Almost there. Yeah, almost there. Alright, let that last little piece melt down while I gather the next ingredient. That's good enough. So our next ingredient is going to be 1 large onion that has been diced. So we're going to put that on in there. Start that sauteing. Like to use butter rather than oil to saute these just because they add a little more flavor. I'm all about flavor when it comes to cooking. Spice blend over here that I've made of 3 tablespoons of Italian seasoning and salt and pepper to taste. We're actually just going to put about 1/3 of this in there because, like I said, we're layering the flavors here. So let's stir that up. I'm not going to saute it for too long because we don't want it to burn. Just a nice little sweat here. Smelling pretty good. Next ingredient we're going to add is 5 cloves of garlic that's been minced. The reason why I didn't add this with the onions is because it'll burn, so that's why I'm adding that after the onions. Saute that together a little bit. This is our first base of flavor for the tomato soup. Couple minutes now, so we're going to add our next ingredient. It is 1 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes, all with the juice and everything. Just pour it right on in there. Stir that up together, get that cooking a little bit. Now that we have the diced tomatoes in there, we're going to add another 1/3 of my spice blend I mentioned earlier. Italian seasoning, salt and pepper. We want each layer to get the same type of treatment, so it's flavorful through and through. You don't need to cook this for too long because the canned tomatoes are already technically cooked. We're just kind of getting them cooked together with the onions and garlic. Our next ingredient is 1 28-ounce can of tomato puree. Just pour all of that right in there. Stir it up all together. Looking good and smelling good. Do you know what comes next? You guessed it. Getting ready to add some more of the Italian seasoning and salt and pepper in there. Layering that flavor on up. The tomato puree is completely cooked as well, so it doesn't need to cook for super long. We're just stirring it all together with the other ingredients, along with the salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning. Smelling very, very good. Our next ingredient is 3 cups of your favorite broth. It could be chicken or vegetable, it's up to you. Put that in there. Stir this up all together. broth adds a little more flavor and it makes it more like a soup. It was a little thick before, but this is making it more like a soup now. See the onions and garlic in there? It's gonna add that extra punch of flavor that we're all looking for. Okay, then our next ingredient is 1 cup of heavy cream. That's what's gonna add that little oomph to the tomato soup, and it also gives that orange color to the tomato soup that you're probably familiar with if you buy it from the can. Just gonna stir that right on in. Just stir it on in until it gets that nice orange color you're familiar with. And see the herbs in there too? It's all gonna be one flavorful bomb when we're all done here. It's looking really yummy and smelling yummy. Our final step is that we're going to turn the heat on to low because now we're in simmering mode, and we're going to put the top on top of it. We're gonna let it simmer for at least 15 minutes. I would say 30 is usually better. And then once it comes out, I'm gonna show you the final product. So as promised, here is my tomato soup. This is how it looks after 30 minutes of simmering. I like to keep it chunky so it has a little texture, so the tomatoes and the onions, you can still have a bite in there when you have a bite of them. If you want your tomato soup to be smooth, feel free to put the finished product in a blender, or if you have an immersion blender you can use right in the pot as it finishes simmering. Just be careful because it is hot. You always want to be really, really careful with hot foods when you're using a blender. I forgot to mention, as I showed you how to cook it, at the very end before I started the simmering process, I added 3 bay leaves at the end just to give it more flavor. Make sure you take those bay leaves out after it finishes cooking because you don't want to eat those. Those are not edible. If you're blending the tomato soup, take those bay leaves out before you blend it. I did a little garnish of fresh parsley on top just to add a little extra to it. That is completely optional. So here you are. Here's my tomato soup. I hope you enjoy and let me know what you think.